Welcome back to Block TV. It is time for Fireside Chat and a closer look at Tron with one of its insiders. Now, much can be said about the crypto sphere, but all will agree, and as in every sphere, press is king. Any press, some will argue. Enter one of the key players of self-promotion, which he himself is the first to admit to, Justin Sun. The 29-year-old Tron chief, who is best remembered as of late as the man who canceled or postponed, we'll find out shortly, the famous luncheon with Warren Buffett, for which he forked out $4.6 million. But Justin Sun is a disruptor, as he evidently told us back in May at the Consensus 2019 New York City gathering. Let's have a listen.
Needless to say, you're prolific on Twitter, but people are giving some criticism about that campaign. What would you answer them?
First of all, I think we need to be really active on Twitter and also on Consensus. Because that's how the way we reach our clients, reach our community, and to be transparent to the community as well. So that's why I think if you want to be the active project among the crypto space, you need to endure some kind of the criticism.
Cliff Edwards, joining me in studio today, is the Global Communications Director of the Tron Foundation and possibly one of the closest people to Justin Sun, I would say. Can I say that?
He's got a lot of close people. I don't know.
But I've seen you with him.
Yes.
Yeah, you seem very, very, very close. And firstly, welcome, Cliff. It's great to have you here in studio. And I will start with the question on everybody's mind. The Buffett luncheon, the thing that was hyped and promoted and tweeted and whatnot, postponed?
Postponed, yes. We are in the process of corralling all of those 9 people again and in their schedules to get it back on track. It took about 2 months for us to get all 9 people to come to San Francisco and sit in one room for 5 hours. With
Warren Buffett?
With Warren Buffett. Even with that lore, everyone's schedules are pretty crazy. So right now we're in the process of doing that. We'll have more to say on that soon, I hope.
No, and understood. What did Warren Buffett say, or his people say, when the luncheon was postponed?
They were actually quite gracious. We just had a quick call with them. We spoke to Glide, the foundation in which we actually the money went to a charity in San Francisco called Glide.
Glide.
Yeah, and they were participating as well that day. So we spoke to both of those groups, and they were pretty nice about it. It was a long time in the making, and then we sort of pulled the rug out from under them with just a few days to go, and but they understood.
You understood. I want to talk about the publicity of it and the aftermath of what happened. When the lunch was canceled, we all remember, we saw the following video. We finally saw Justin, which alleviated all the rumors that were coming out. Let's take a look.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Yeah. What's a crack? Yeah, I'm feeling better. No. You want to see our colleague here? Let me see. This is our BD guy, Roy. Roy, say hi. Hi. This is our comp guy.
Hashtag the bodyguard.
This is the Bay Bridge, not Golden Gate Bridge, but the Bay Bridge. Bay Bridge. Yeah, over there is a Bay Bridge. So everything is okay. So
Cliff Edwards still with us, obviously, the Global Director Communications for the Tron Foundation. There you are also in that suite in San Francisco. That was jarring for us in the sphere to see as we were covering that luncheon very much. First of all, how tense was it what happened there with all the rumors that Justin was being held in China, that was part of the deal, that he's not being allowed out? Was that a reaction to that?
Yes, it was, very much so. An interesting thing was we announced, I think, Monday night that we were postponing it. I went over to that was his apartment, actually.
Right.
I went there Monday night, had a chat with him before I went home. Then Tuesday morning, I started getting calls from the press saying, hey, there's a story out of China that Justin is being investigated for a bunch of stuff and that he's under arrest, essentially. And I said, I don't understand. I just saw Justin. This was from mainstream media, crypto media. I mean, it was just getting tons and tons of calls from folks. And I said, no, he's resting comfortably, in his condo in San Francisco, and people said, we don't believe you, basically. And I said, well, I don't know what else I can tell you. I'm not making, if he's arrested, you're going to find out he's arrested. Why would I not tell you that?
Although in China, it's kind of questionable. But yeah.
Yes. But if he disappeared for some period of time, one would know that,
exactly.
that something happened. So basically, I called Justin and woke him up and said, look, I'm coming over, and I'm going to take some pictures with you, and you have a picture, there's the Bay Bridge in the background. And even then, despite all of that FUD, people then would say he appears to be in San Francisco. I was like, are we now doctoring photos? I mean, is there that much distrust in the industry that people would think that, somehow I'm also in China, maybe being held, and that we're doctoring photos?
Right.
It was a very sort of interesting time.
And hence the Periscope video.
Right, yeah, and even then, Justin said, hey, I want to do this too. And I said, look, you don't have to prove anything to anybody. We put the stuff on Twitter, the pictures on your Twitter feed, on my Twitter feed, but he's always concerned about the community and what they think too. So he did the video as well.
He did the video as well, and as you so rightfully mentioned, because of all those rumors coming out that he's being held in China, all of this is clearly coming on the heels of a very tense time between the United States and China. Is the trade war and the rhetoric that has ensued through it been problematic for a company like Tron?
I think it's been problematic for everybody. I mean, particularly, in the crypto space, China is not a fan of crypto right now. So there's always going to be a certain level of push-pull and tensions between that. And we have a very large sort of development and partnership office in Beijing. So, there is that in the back of Justin's mind, and he has to worry about, an office of 300 something people as well.
300 people working in Beijing. There was also, and that's an interesting point that you mentioned to me before we sat down, following and ensuing the need to prove location and that he wasn't held by the Chinese government. There was a tweet that came out in Chinese that many people claim was then taken immediately off. A tweet in Chinese that came online shortly after, I believe it was a day after the cancellation.
It was 2 days. So it was Wednesday.
It was 2 days,
yeah,
and a very long, very I don't know if, unlike Justin, sort of a tweet, out of which, and as you said, it's still online because people are claiming it's not.
Right.
Okay. Out of it, there were some, I'll give you a quote. There's a quote that we translated that came up from that long blog, so to speak, in Chinese, that we have it. For the elders, leaders, and regulators who care about me, I would like to express my sincere apologies for my premature marketing in words and deeds. I am deeply afraid of the adverse effects I caused. I am young, not well experienced in the ways of the world, and the blockchain is an emerging industry. I am immature. I will also open my heart to the regulators who actively introduce structure and industry development to the sector and will actively cooperate with the regulatory agencies for guidance and do our utmost to satisfy them to meet the requirements, establish long-term communication. That is a major mea culpa. Why?
don't know if it's necessary. The thing that's really interesting, I think, in the Chinese market that's very different than media elsewhere, and I spoke to Justin about this. I didn't see this until after he had posted this, and actually asked him myself, why do this, essentially. And, he said, look, I was up all night thinking about this, and when you start to see all this type of press coming out of China, and a lot of the negative press that we were getting around Buffett was coming out of China, to be quite honest. Wow. And this was not just that week, but it was, from the time we won the auction.
From the moment that you won the auction.
Yeah, to the time we postponed. So this was months. And I think he thought, look, at the end of the day, if someone feels like I wronged them, or that it was sort of that type of mea culpa.
Right.
Like if I offended anybody out there, I'm sorry.
Because it sounds like a mea culpa to the Chinese government,
right?
In a way.
Yeah, that's the way I read it. But I mean, he mentioned a newspaper that basically said he was being held. He mentioned just about everybody under the sun in that post, and I think that's really where he was trying to go. Is like, look, I've been up all night thinking about this, and if somebody somewhere out there is unhappy, then I don't want you to be unhappy. Because you remember at the time too, there was also that issue with the people that got scammed from the Wayfield community.
Yes. What happened there?
That was at the beginning of the year, I think that was really when that was starting to take off, and we did issue sort of warnings about, hey, we're not going to ever ask you for this or that and that type of thing, but we never specifically mentioned any one potential scam, because if anybody knows the blockchain community, there's thousands and thousands out there at any given time. So if you have a full list of every single one that's a potential scam, you get into a lot of trouble. And what we also do is we take pretty strong action to send cease and desist letters to a lot of these folks. So there's a lot of internal stuff that isn't necessarily promoted outwardly to people. And I think when people lost their money, there's a lot of unsophisticated investors in the crypto space right now, and they're saying, "Hey, Tron, give me my money back. I lost my money." And it's not Tron that had anything to do with it.
And that's my question to you. There are a lot of unsophisticated people in the space. You deal with communications in the space. That said, there's a lot of hype in the space. Mm-hmm. How does one combat that and then still claim transparency?
It's hard because you have it's that juxtaposition that you're talking about. The space has to, any new market has to really talk about the future and the things that are great. Here's the shiny new penny, and we want to focus on that shiny new penny and not talk about the blemishes. That is very, very true of any new marketplace. I've covered technology for 20-something years as a reporter and editor and different
I'm going to touch on
places.
that in a second. Yeah.
So, I've seen this happen.
Yeah.
But you also have to, maintain a sense of where are you going to get there? You have to show that you have momentum. You have to show that you're doing stuff, and part of it is
that you're
hype.
Progressing.
Yeah, but part of it is rubber meeting the road, and you have a product that you're trying to get to, and it's a little of both, And we also spend a lot of time at Tron really thinking about how do you spend more time educating the market. We have lots of meetups which are smaller in scale, but some of the big events, some of these big things that we try to do, like Buffett, is really about sort of getting people's attention, oh, what is blockchain? What is crypto? I heard about this company called Tron, and Warren Buffett now has to sit down with a Tron guy and a bunch of crypto people, and what does that mean?
And I love that you have the background in technology before, because we're going to touch on that with what is happening right now with this race for the first digital, or the first digital currency, I will call it, because we don't know what the essence of it will be, that will own the market, apropos use case. But hype and publicity are one thing. And, needless to say, it was covered all over that the luncheon was going to happen, and then it was canceled. But ever since, Tron's price is plummeting. What is the talk about that within Tron? Was it worth it?
Believe it or not, there's actually not a lot of talk about it internally. I've been actually quite surprised. We focused on price to a certain extent, but we also focus on, what's the roadmap, and can we get that roadmap, Can we keep it on schedule?
What
and on
is the
track?
roadmap?
A lot of the roadmap, I talked to a bunch of influencers about this right around the Buffett time, is really sort of creating the first major big use case for blockchain and cryptocurrency.
Yep.
And a lot of that was when Justin purchased BitTorrent. That is 100 million monthly active users, which would make the marketplace almost, by some estimates, 5 times larger if you got all 100 million of those people aboard and using crypto.
Exactly.
And that's a use case that hasn't existed yet in the industry. So the trick with that is like, how do you get these people aboard? We rolled out BitTorrent Speed in beta. We rolled out BTFS in beta, and we just announced BT Live. It's in alpha now and coming out in beta in Q4.
Right.
So it's those types of use cases where people are thinking, can I, have the mainstream audience understand crypto beyond the fact that it's like, oh, I can make money off of this thing. It's about what's the use case, and is it more a mainstream type thing? What you see right now is a lot of gambling apps. DeFi is becoming very, very important.
DeFi, definitely.
But you want to have other mainstream use cases, and so BitTorrent is for Tron, one of the big use cases.
And how's BitTorrent doing thus far?
I would give us a B so far. At the end of the day, we're in beta for a lot of these things. We're learning stuff as we go along. Trying to understand what really sort of catches people's eye, what makes them interested in the space. I mean, this is all part of the process, right? This is why you do alphas and betas, so you can learn and you can fix it and take feedback from the audience, essentially.
How long is Justin Sun in for the game? Because at the end of the day, everybody in the sphere that we speak with is looking for a use case. There might be a mega one coming out with Libra.
Right.
There might be a mega.
If and when it ever comes out, yes.
Or there might be a mega one coming with Graham. I
Right.
think we're all forgetting that come October 31st, we might see the launch of, the Telegram, the Telegram Open Network. But Justin, as we said, the price is plummeting. You're still in beta when it comes to Tron. How long is he in this for? How does he sustain it?
I never once have heard him say, gee, I should give this all up. I mean, the thing that is interesting is that, a lot of these guys, they did an ICO, took the money.
That's
and
a
bought
dirty word. Right
yeah, and bought an island somewhere. I mean, the interesting thing with him, for all of the detractors out there that he has, is that he's trying to invest back into the space. Part of it is Justin Sun, but part of it is Tron and BitTorrent, and really sort of focusing on the community. And if you look at, I can't fault him, and I don't think anybody can fault him for looking into and saying, hey, community, I'm trying to keep you aware of what's going on all the time. I'm trying to promote the industry, and I'm trying to be a big booster for the industry. I mean, and those are the things that he's really focused on since I started at Tron and BitTorrent, and he's never wavered from that.
When it comes to him and CZ, he's got a bit of an obsession with CZ. Has he met CZ?
I think he's met him. Yeah. I mean, he actually just gave an interview with another outlet who they were asking about CZ. So I think they met many times, or at least they talk fairly regularly. And one of the things I think that is as he has said, is that look, Binance has become this sort of giant thing, announcing more and more things each day.
For one heck of a week, and
he
like
admires, he admires how, this also grew from nothing into this big sort of behemoth, and a lot of that, I think what people tend to do in every industry is find the guys who are successful and try to get tips and tricks from them. I mean, that's half of the reason for the Buffett thing too. I mean, part of it's marketing, part of it was charity, but part of it is, hey, I get the opportunity to pick the brain of one of the richest and smartest investors in the world.
And get some press through that as well.
And
get some press through that in Tally. Talking a little bit about Libra, Graham, Is Justin and our Tron aware of this race that's been going on? Because apropos Binance announcing Venus just the other day, you know, Libra, whether it happens or not, you know, I can bet you money right now that ultimately it will in one way, shape, or another. Again, that's just my theory.
Yeah.
The Chinese central bank is about to do the same thing.
Right.
Where does Tron see itself in that game?
I mean, I think,
because that's a huge case.
Yeah.
You know, that's 200 million to 2.3 billion people.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's different opportunities. I mean, right now, Tron is really focused in the entertainment space. If you think about sort of like where most of the most of the wood is going, essentially, in Tron, you know, the D-apps, BitTorrent, that's entertainment. You know, that's a very, very large market. Think of like Netflix, you know, sort of pioneering the idea of streaming. You know, like nobody thought streaming was going to take off.
And now everybody's going to stream.
Yeah, now everybody's streaming. And that niche, if you can be a leader in that niche really early, you usually succeed. That's usually how it works in most industries. And so it's not like trying to be everything to everyone, you know, or trying to be the payments person or the exchange or that type of thing.
You're going to be the platform.
Because, yeah, what people are trying to do, I think, is find, you know, something that's sustainable and that, you know, the trick is defensible too, right? You know, like there's going to be lots of players who come into the market, and as it happens everywhere, you know, you have people who fall out, but then you have other folks who come in and say, hey, I can do that better than you're doing it, and I can do it cheaper or faster or some way that, you know, I'm going to take on Binance. Sure enough, that you're going to have people who are going to take on Binance. Trust me. You know, there's people who are taking on Binance now, but like you know what I mean. There's going to be like folks who are going to be like a very concerted effort, you know, to take on Binance. There's always concerted efforts to take on the industry leaders, and so this is what you're going to be seeing.
Now, when it comes to you, you have been in technology for quite a few years, right? How many years?
20 some odd years, yeah.
Started in press?
yeah. I started at the Associated Press, was business editor for Illinois there, went out to California to be the first technology correspondent for AP, went to Business Week magazine, covered some of the top consumer tech companies.
You're one of us. How did you end up in the sphere? How did you end up with Justin Sun? How did you guys meet?
Yeah, I actually met him. They were looking for a head of comms, essentially. And I had just, I was at another startup running marketing and communications, and I was really interested in this thing called blockchain. Not so much crypto, you know, but blockchain, because I'm like, you know, if this technology really takes off, it is a new phase of the internet. You know, it is the potential to be game changing. And one of the things that has always attracted me wherever I go is the building part. You know, when you go somewhere and you're actually helping build something new and interesting, that's really fun and exciting. It can be frustrating and you want to go home and have a drink sometimes, but it's also, you know, just the most fun.
Yeah.
And so when they reached out to me, you know, and Justin was explaining sort of the BitTorrent acquisition in particular, you know, I was like, that's really, really interesting, because what I've seen over the years, why companies fail generally beyond sort of, you know, execution and management, those, if you put those aside, what happens is it's a chicken and egg thing, right?
Sure.
You need developers, and you can't get developers until you have an audience, you know, and so everybody's racing and spending a lot of money on acquiring developers, and then they think the audience will come. And Justin turned that on its head and said, I'm going to buy an audience. You buy an audience in a market where there's no audience, then you're going to get developers. And you saw that happen almost instantly. Like the minute like BitTorrent closed, suddenly Tron was getting developers. It was, who's Tron? You know, Ethereum. They're an Ethereum knockoff. They're poor man's EOS. You know, that's where people were saying. Suddenly you buy BitTorrent, and you know it's becoming the fastest platform for development growth.
He's very young, Justin. One can argue that he's positioned in the midst of a battle of giants. I mean, he's Chinese. There's a big battle between China and the United States right now. There's a trade war that doesn't seem to stop. Does that pose a problem for his business?
Look, most of the crypto industry, the guys who are running these crypto and blockchain projects are relatively young. Almost all of them are super, super young. I think there is maybe a bit of a push-pull because he's a Chinese national.
I'm an ageist. I mean, I just said young because I'm in my 40s and I did not do what Justin did. Yeah. But is he positioned as a Chinese national on the cuff of revolutionary, be it monetary or technological, in the midst of this battle between these two nations?
Yeah, I think, look, there's a fine line everybody has to walk in this space. I mean, you mentioned the Chinese, government is looking at crypto, even though they say they're not looking at crypto and all of this stuff.
They're just going to nationalize it.
Yeah, but there's, anybody who's worked in China knows that from anybody from Apple to Huawei to anybody else has to toe the line a bit. And you have to make sure that you're towing the line, and not, you're walking this tightrope and you can't teeter either way. And so you have to really sort of think about that also when you're thinking about growing on a global scale, particularly if you're a Chinese national.
Yeah. No, fascinating. Now, when it comes to Tron, there was an announcement, I believe, this morning. Am I right in saying that? Or did Justin not say anything to you?
We have a bunch of announcements.
Okay, please. I want you to announce them. Let's because essentially, what are the announcements that you want to give me?
So we have the Be Live announcement went out. I don't know. I think it was yesterday, maybe.
Yesterday.
Yeah, and that was saying.
There we go. BitTorrent Live, the new live stream application from BitTorrent, will launch on testnet internally soon. It combines the traditional audio-video live stream technology. You're going up for Netflix, aren't you? With revolutionary, everybody's going to stream with revolutionary blockchain technology and adopts a new gifting mechanism with BTT. Okay, that's streaming into that, venturing into that. Very good. What else?
So there was I think a TRX buyback plan that was announced. There's a lot of things on both sides of the equation. Like Tron is basically working on improving the protocol. The Sun Network just was announced not too long ago. All of this is really about sort of, making it easier and faster and cheaper for people to do business on Tron, on the platform. The BitTorrent side really is about, hey, what are the use cases? Where do we see building that better mousetrap?
Finally, 2 days ago, Justin said that he backs Libra and says that it will facilitate a bright future. Company line?
I think so. I mean, look, any big company that comes in and legitimizes a marketplace is a win for somebody. I mean, it's a lose for somebody as well.
Right.
But think about it this way. Libra is, by super conservative estimates, 2 years away. That's a lot of time for a lot of people to grow and entrench themselves.
Right.
And Facebook is really looking at this also in a way of keeping you on the platform. You have to think about also what their real goal is, and is the goal really to be the guy who's going to kill everybody else and take over the space? Or is it about making sure?
Call me a skeptic or just somebody. Zuckerberg has shown to do that in every space he walks into, in many ways. But
he thinks about, how do I, their market is advertising. That's where they make all of their money, and this is why you get all the free stuff from them. That's why they technically don't charge you for anything other than your data. They keep your data, right?
Yeah, they just keep your cell.
Right. So you have that vein, and what you're starting to see is slippage because of part of it is the fact that they've had all these privacy issues, let's say, and you have different generations of people moving to different platforms as it always happens, right? Remember, Facebook was the young kids platform, and now it's the fathers and mothers platform, and you barely find anybody.
That's the corporate god of tech in many ways.
So people are I'm Instagram, which is Facebook too, but people don't really think about it that way.
WhatsApp.
Yeah. And there's going to be competitors that come to those, and so he's trying to say, hey, look, I'm putting up my sandbags, to keep all of these folks out. And the way of doing that is to have everything from payments to processing to gifting all built in. This is what everybody tends to do. Apple has done this. If you look at any sort of big company, it's about how do I make myself the one place that's indispensable to your life.
And I think that's once again brings us back and concludes that everybody's looking for that golden use case to build on and be there.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know, as you said, the postponement, you're saying that luncheon will happen.
Yes.
That luncheon will happen in the future.
Yes.
No date yet. You will be the first to be told when, and of course, I will be there.
Yes.
See, you said yes.
I couldn't get a seat at the table, so.
Okay, well, so I'll wait with you on the outskirts. But Clifford, this has been a great pleasure to have you with us. As we said, Director of Communications for the Tron Foundation, that was very much in the eye of a lot of publicity storms. We were Block TV Fireside Chat. We'll be right back.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.